Welcome to the Astral Weather Report. I'm Jeremy Eugene Wilson with the Light Army, and I come on here every 6 days to share with you the astrological alignments that change the neutrino weather, affecting the way you and the people around you feel, think, show up, behave, so it's not confusion or a distraction. It's something you can embrace, leverage, and use to your benefit to achieve your highest goals, your biggest outcomes. And over this next 6 days, the theme is structured beginnings. We just came through this transit of having a ton of awareness of what's not working so that we could focus on what is and scale the systems that are working, ultimately let go of what's not working. And so now we move into this new transit, and ultimately, the mental and emotional forecast, kind of what you can expect to think and feel over this next 6 days. This cycle really introduces pressure around new beginnings, right? But not necessarily clean ones. It can be messy, abrasive. It can feel like sandpaper to the soul. It can create a lot of uncertainty. It can be formative and transformative. So, you might feel some frustration at slow or unclear starts, or where there's some ambiguity. You might just feel some pressure to organize chaos into clear direction, and there's just going to be a little heightened emotional sensitivity, right? Especially around responsibilities and standards and, our values that anchor our identity to our reality. So there's a desire. You'll feel, the want to create order where things feel unstable or disordered. So this is not a polished energy. This is foundation energy, and you got to sometimes, pick some rocks out before you lay the concrete foundation. You've got to get into the dirt and make a mess. So beginnings are messy. They are. Structure is what creates stability. So the reason this transit's a little bit more powerful, and there's a little bit of a dichotomic energy, there's inspiration, but this pressure. The sun has moved into the third signature. This is gate 3 in human design, so it's the gate of beginnings, the gate of ordering, chaos, innovation. In the I Ching, we call it difficulty at the beginning. So if you study the traditional I Ching system, that's literally what they label it as, difficulty at the beginning. And so the way this shows up in a distorted way is just impatience, where you just try and force something because you're just not patient. You don't have delayed gratification active. And so you might feel frustrated. It literally feels, it's like staring at grass, waiting for it to grow. So, it might cause you to abandon ideas or question whether you should give up entirely, right? It's like black and white. Should I stay or should I go now? Stop picking flower petals, trying to force clarity and figure that out. The key to this and the way to use this to your advantage is really just to organize the chaos, brain dump, get it all out. What I want, where I'm at, where I'd like to go, what I'd like to let go of, what are standards I want to hold, what are standards I want to let go of. Who am I? Who am I not? What do I stand for? What do I stand against? Organize the chaos, get your ideas outside of you and start simplifying that structure down. And trust the early phase. Don't, a lot of people forget that the momentum you put in early is what prevents you from quitting when you're about to hit pay dirt. So definitely trust that early phase and respect the amount of momentum that must be created to get something moving, to get it going. That we just sent a supposed rocket into space last week. And, a lot of people forget that in order to send a rocket to the moon and go 286,000 miles away, that it burns up 95% of its fuel supply in the first 2 miles. 286,000 miles burns up the majority of fuel in the first 2 miles. Why? Because this thing called escape velocity, right? And so you have habit gravity, your old identity, your old ways of being, your old reality is that gravity holding you down. So it takes a tremendous amount of lift and momentum to get things moving. So trust that. Allow natural development, but be real with yourself about the all-out massive action that you must take in a sustainable, predictable way, right? The core lesson of Gate 3 is really that every new beginning really looks like chaos and a mess before it becomes clarity, right? So, shake up the snow globe, but then don't force anything. Let the idea settle until it's settled in an order of importance. Create an Eisenhower matrix What are the most important, most urgent, least important, least urgent? I'm going to do it now. I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to delegate it. I'm going to delete it. Let's talk about the Earth. It's moved into the 50th signature. This is gate 50 in human design. This is the gate of values. This is the gate of responsibility. It's all about standards. So this can create, a distorted way. In the I Ching, they call it the cauldron, because what do you think about a cauldron? Things are just bubbling and boiling. And so this could cause you to avoid responsibility and be like, I want to do what's fun and what lights me up. Well, Gay Hendricks, he's the one that coined the term zone of genius, zone of excellence. Don't abandon your zone of excellence and get that confused and say, I'm just supposed to live in my zone of genius. No, you're supposed to have standards, a standard is like taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Why? It's called hygiene. So you have to have the same kinds of standards, in your life, so that you have boundaries directing you toward your outcomes. So, what are those standards that must be in place so that I'm in personal power, I'm in momentum, I'm in high energy? And then where are my boundaries weak? Because it's important that we become unavailable for that, which takes us out of momentum toward our deepest desires, our goals, our outcomes, our dreams, right? Our calling, what we're here for. So the greatest way to align with this is just truly get clear on your values, what you value the most. Most people don't even know what values are. What do you value the most? What qualities do you want more of in your life? And embrace leadership through responsibility. Like, where would you feel guilty if people failed and you had a solution to lead them? As a parent, in your business, in the greater world, right? Not attached to income. And then really protecting what matters to you, it's so easy, especially as an entrepreneur. We trade our, 9 to 5 for a 24/7. And oftentimes we go into business because we want to provide greater options for our family or our future altogether. And we arrive in that future and we've effectively created a prison for ourselves. So remember to protect what matters most. You don't want to give your family the table scraps, what's left of you at the end of going after your goals. You want to give your family the best of you. So you got to make sure you protect that version of yourself as well. The core lesson from Gate 50 is really just that, structure is built through standards. It's not your intentions. It's not, a templated system. What are the standards of operation? What are the qualities you want to experience your life day to day? And how do you reverse engineer that in your calendar so that it is a standard, a habit, something that you don't do? It's part of who you are, right? So just avoid trying to force clarity too early or make rash black and white decisions. Should I stay or should I go? BS. Don't abandon your new ideas because it might seem hard or this is crazy, I'm pipe dreaming. No, how could I create this? Some people say 10x is easier than 2x. That's a book. And yeah, sometimes having a what do they call it, a BHAG, a big hairy audacious goal, can make you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, it seems impractical, but if you feel a sense of responsibility of the outcome on the other side, how your life will be affected positively, the impact it'll make, then you can start to set standards and reverse engineer what would be required to make that real, even if it takes 100 years, right? But definitely have a path, a trajectory, so that you're moving in the right direction, right? Definitely don't overreact emotionally to any early instability in what you're building and doubt things. Just create some structure inside uncertainty. If I considered infinite perspectives, what perspective will allow me to see this already done in the future, and what possibilities could be executed resourcefully to make that a reality, right? Define some clear values and standards. I can't say it enough. If you don't know what you stand for, I love the word standards. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? Future you, what do they stand for? What do they stand against, right? Make sure you sit down, maybe write a letter from your future self. Here's the standards that we had to enforce to achieve our dreams. What are those standards? What had to change daily, weekly, monthly, annually, right? Was it about financial hygiene, marketing hygiene, right? What are the standards you installed? And, like I said, just don't lose your commitment when it's all right, the needle's not really moving. It takes a lot of energy. Like I said, habit, gravity, escape, velocity. Your old reality is gravity pulling you from a new one. Comfort is what the mind seeks. Just like water, it seeks the path of least resistance. So, definitely know that it requires a healthy level of commitment to get that momentum, and you can slowly put systems in place to help support that more sustainably. But just feel a deep sense of responsibility. Know that you've impacted millions of lives, your dreams have come true, and there's a version of you that deserves you to commit at the level required at whatever necessary to achieve what desire God has put in your heart. So, just define, a minimum of 3 new non-negotiable standards that'll move you toward your outcomes and away from the obstacles in your life, the repeating patterns. Organize like one chaotic area of life or business, or even or reorganize your office. Take energy to organize your files, organize your drawers, go look on your desktop background, organize everything into files, organize. Just pick one chaotic area of life. Maybe it's your garage. I know I need to organize my garage. Whatever that is for you, just stay consistent through the early resistance and the frustration. And we've all felt that way. No one wants to clean, but everyone loves when you're done cleaning, having the organization, the structure, and just that overall environment to be so simplified, organized. And to me, that's like the greatest form of luxury and, modern character. So reinforce responsibility of your daily actions around those standards. Ask yourself this week, internally, where am I expecting clarity before I've created structure? So many people are like, I want to be clear. Well, I believe in taking a step of faith, but in the world we live in, I'm probably not going to Indiana Jones try and walk across a canyon without structure. I'm going to want a real bridge because I don't live in Hollywood in Fantasyland. Gravity is real. There is danger. So make sure you create structure, be disciplined about that, preventative discipline. What can I do to plan, prep, prepare? What can I do that's supportive? And then what can I do that's corrective if I go off track? And then externally, what responsibility are you being asked to step into right now? Where are you avoiding responsibility because of fear of failure, letting people down, instead of just fully stepping in, taking ownership, being responsible? I'm capable of doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm going to choose to change that. That's what responsibility is. So that's the Astral Weather Report for you this week. If you see this in time before noon, we're hosting the Breakthrough Lab. This week it is about installing systems to allow you to show up with consistent energy, focus, emotional power, be able to deploy that profitably in production in your life, both personally and professionally, and then activate a powerful internal sense of purpose and meaning that becomes a perpetual motor, a feedback loop of infinite energy to draw from that will allow you to, break through the obstacles as they show up and ultimately start having more faith that you will stop at nothing till your goals, your dreams, your highest outcomes, and the greatest impact to make on the world is already done. Time just hasn't caught up yet. So in the meantime, remember, you're more powerful than you know. You are the light, infinite love. Shine the fuck on. Bye for now.